What's up, YouTube family? Welcome to the Linked Up Church online experience. We're so glad that you've chosen to connect with us today. Before we jump into the message, we wanted to let you know that we have a ton of great content for the whole family. We have great videos for your small children in the Little Linkland section, for your kids in the Linked Up Kids section, and relevant services for your teenagers from the Plug. We'd love to be a blessing to your whole family, so check out these videos when you can. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you never miss a video from us. Now, let's get started.
I might need a mic. So good to be with you all. Thank you so much, Pastor Trish and Pastor Joel, for having me back again. You must like me being back 3 times. So it's so wonderful to be with you. So, hey. Well, today is going to be so special because not only are we going to, as Pastor Joel, really celebrate how we can really use our minds to move forward in this, hopefully into this post-pandemic era, and to recover from what we've gone through. So to help me to demonstrate this and to teach more about the power of the mind, I have got someone so special here, a very, very dear friend, an incredible person, and someone that is so much a support to me, who has been a great friend through mental health stuff that I've gone through. We all go through mental health stuff. And we've been helping each other, and she's just phenomenal. She's going to come share her story. We're going to team teach, so it's going to be something different. Let's welcome Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child to the stage.
Good to be here. I thought I had time to lurk in the audience and be live on IG to just let everybody see you, but
you can do that too while we're talking. You can go live on IG and do while we're talking.
Okay. So to the great leaders of this house, we've been spoiled and just taken care of for the past 2 days, and just thankful for is it pastors, Diane and Johnny? Y'all not pastors? Yeah, you not maybe having campus pastors and just folks. Y'all just help serve. Amen.
They've been amazing.
Cool.
Thank you so much. 3 times you've looked after us. We want to honor you too as well.
Dr. Leaf, my friend.
Oh, my friend. We are going to really help understand the mind and how to move forward. So we're going to talk about, I'm going to set the stage with Jesus in the garden and how Jesus, who could be better to teach us about mental health? Okay, so we're going to look at that from a different angle. We're then going to talk about how to lead from the heart, okay, and how that relates to the mind. We're going to talk about how to manage grief. And we're going to try and touch on stress. So there's a lot to get through. And I can talk fast, but I'll talk slow. I'll try. So I'm going to start by just setting the stage and taking us back to the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus models please be seated,
I was going to say, I love being in church and say, y'all, please be seated, please. Take your seats.
You're so polite. Sorry, I just dived in.
Take your seats, people of God.
You need to take your seats and put your seatbelt on, like T.D. Jakes says. Get ready, get ready, get ready. Okay? And remember, if I speak fast, I actually increase your intelligence because you listen faster and you process quicker. So dive in and listen. Okay, so Jesus is the best model of mental health, as I mentioned. If you think of it, Jesus teaches us that the first thing that we have to do in dealing with our mind is get into the garden. Capture those thoughts. What does capturing a thought mean? It means facing what that internal narrative is in your mind. What are you saying to yourself? What are those intrusive thoughts? What is popping up into your mind every moment of the day? As a neuroscientist, I wanted to know, can we do that? And yes, we can. Every 10 seconds, we are able to get in the garden and face what we are thinking about. So when Jesus got in the garden, Jesus was demonstrating for us how we should be living our life, which is one of facing the issues in order to go through the issues, in order to get them onto the cross, in order to rise again with our story in our hands. So we recognize that each and every one of us has a unique story. There is no cookie-cutter way of saying that if this happens to you, this is going to be how you will react. Because each and every one of us is so completely unique and complex. And only you can walk your journey. So when you are facing stuff, which is all the time, every day you're going to face stuff. Every day you're using your mind, which is 99% of you, your mind being your spirit and your soul. You're using your mind to process the experiences of life. And as you process the adverse experiences of life and the good ones, they go into your brain. So your mind grabs the experience and it shows up in your brain and changes your brain. It becomes a physical product. It looks like a tree. Your brain then sends the message to your body, to every cell, and you have 37 to 100 trillion cells, to then store a replica of that information, which is data, which are memories inside the thought, in every cell of your body. I know that's hard to imagine, but it's a change in your genetic code. So every cell is changing. And your mind, which is your spirit and your soul, is driving this process. So when we are faced with adverse experiences, we can't ignore them. They're going to go into us. So what's really important is that we become very proactive and preemptive in how we process what's going in and how we respond to what is already inside of us. And this is where bringing all thoughts into captivity and renewing the mind is a lifestyle, not an optional now and then kind of thing to do. It is an all the time thing. And the way that you are facing something, so all of us have faced the pandemic, etc., it's the same thing, but we've all experienced it in our own unique way. So you have your story, not just about the pandemic, about all the other things that are going on in your life. And that is each of us, all of our own unique stories. So Jesus demonstrates us that we've got to face it. It's not going to go away. That we have been, the way we've been designed is that you are affected by your environment. You're affected by the people around you. And that effect lands up as a product, a change inside your brain and your body. And your mind, brain, and body worked together. The fancy word for that is psychoneurobiology. And the three work together to produce how you function in the world. Now, considering the fact that there's something you can do that no one else can do, it's vitally important that we actually do capture our thoughts every 10 seconds, that we do make sure that the way we are thinking and feeling and choosing and building these thoughts is in alignment with love, which is God. And considering that we are made in God's image and we have wisdom at our inner core, well, we need to be tuning into that. So Jesus demonstrates that when we hit these adverse circumstances, which are unique to each of us, we have to face them. And that's the getting in the garden bit. And we are in a world that wants a quick fix, wants to suppress. We've literally been encouraged by the different philosophies, and it's even penetrated into the church where, just slap a scripture on. A Band-Aid, sort of a Band-Aid on the bullet wound, using that scripture as a magic potion, using God as a genie. That is not what Jesus demonstrates. You are supposed to go through the mess in order to repair and grow. So Jesus gets in the garden and encourages us to get in the garden. And Jesus then goes through experiencing what every human experiences. Now just think about this. Michelle and I were talking about this in the car yesterday. Just take all of us in this room, and there's quite a few of us here. Each of us has thousands of stories attached to our life. All of them different. And each and every one of us, every single one of us, is experiencing the ups and downs. Now, just in this room, in that garden, Jesus experienced all of this too. Everything you have and will experience, Jesus experienced in that garden. We don't understand that. It's just something beyond our understanding. But what it's telling us is that it's okay. Whatever you're going through, whatever mess, whatever grief, whatever trauma, whatever anger, frustration, whatever, you have an advocate who has experienced that in the garden and who demonstrated that you've got to go through it. You've got to face it, that the only way through it is to go through it. You've got to feel it to heal it. The only way out is through. So you get in the garden and you face your issue. You don't suppress it with painkillers. You don't suppress it, and I'm not anti-medication, okay? I'm just saying that when we've got stuff to deal with, you push it down, it doesn't go away, it's going to explode like a volcano. So then it takes time as you go through, and Jesus demonstrates that it's okay to freak out in the love zone. Okay? It's okay to scream and shout. Jesus screamed out to God, "Take this from me." You can say that too. You can be depressed. You can be anxious, because they're not brain diseases. They are responses. They are warning signals. They are your brain, mind, and body working with the wisdom of God to tell you, pay attention. Pay attention. Jesus saying, pay attention. Get that out. Process through. It's going to take time. How long is different for all of us. We know from the neural work and the neuroscience, I know that it takes cycles of 63 days to rewire your brain, and all the systems I've developed work around those principles. So I've taken the science behind renewing the mind, capturing thoughts, renewing the brain, and put that into a system which you can learn about in my materials and my app. But for today, let's talk about the philosophy. Let's talk about the spiritual side, and let's get a little bit practical too. So Jesus then at one point turns to the disciples and says, doesn't ask them to swap places or give them some kind of painkiller or a way out. Jesus simply turns to them and says, "Can you but be with me?" And that is so significant. You can't do this alone. You have to find your buddies, your support system. You have to get that to be with you. But no one can fix you. No therapist, pastor, counselor. Do not come to Pastor Trish and Joel and get them to fix your problems. They cannot. Okay, only you can face what you have to face. Only Jesus could go to the cross. Each of us have multiple crosses every day. Okay, and it takes time, but we need our support system. And the support system is there to listen, to point us in the direction of maybe having another perspective or different materials, that kind of stuff. Okay, so then we see that things actually get worse before they get better. So Jesus goes through this, and then Jesus gets beaten to a thread and bleeding, and so things get worse before they get better. And I can tell you as a therapist that things will get worse before they get better. I've done the scientific research. We see these changes in the brain and the body, because your life is experienced by your mind, but it shows up in your brain and your body. And your mind, brain, and body, your spirit, soul, and body together are how you express yourself in life. And when it's messy, the expression is messy in our brain and body. The expression is messy out there. But the beauty is that as we face it, as we go through it with the support, it will get worse. Why? Because when you start seeing the cause of what the issue is, it causes tremendous grief, tremendous pain. And it's hard to deal with our stuff. And in our current world, we are told immediately, as soon as you have any kind of emotional reaction, you've got an illness. And then you're not allowed to process it. It gets suppressed. It gets stuck in a box of diagnosis. You get labeled. You get stuck. And then you wonder why you're not healing. And then this volcano's erupting, and another one, and your life falls apart. And Jesus is saying, no, hey, get in the garden. Fall apart with me in the garden. Accept that it's going to get worse. Accept that then, when it's bad, but then it's going to get even worse. You're going to get crucified. And there's going to be more pain. But that pain is revelatory. That pain is freeing. That pain will lead to your resurrection. And you will rise with your story in your hand. You cannot change what's happened to you, but you can change what's in you. So now I'm going to do a quick demo, and then we're going to dive in. Michelle and I together are going to explain some stuff to you.
You need the picture?
I need the picture too. Okay.
I'm her armor bearer too.
And I'm going to be yours in a moment. Okay, so now, I hope you guys can see this. We're going to zoom in on this. I have a little black stone here, and this little black stone represents whatever you are going through in your life. Maybe it's the grief of the loss of a loved one. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it is a family issue that's happening, that's been going on for years. Maybe there's whatever. Everyone has got something. Put up your hands. Everyone has something. Maybe there's multiple things. And that's okay. Guys, it's okay to be a mess. That's what Jesus says. He was a mess in the garden. Jesus experienced the depression, the anxiety, the frustration, the fear, all of those things that you and I go through. Jesus said, it's okay. That's me the way I've designed you, the way God has designed you, is that those are, when you face them, that's how you get control. Those emotions are warning signals. Those feelings in your body, those behavioral changes, those perspectives of that life sucks. That's not who you are. That is because of. So we've got to get in the garden to find the because of. So here's this. And when we are immersed in that grief, when initially things are so bad, we feel consumed. It feels like this is everything. There's no space around that pain. We feel completely and utterly consumed. And this is kind of the first step into the garden. And this is often where people don't want to. They want to move away. And this is where the Holy Spirit starts sending us gentle little nudges that are things like those emotions that you're feeling. Embrace them. That depression, that bodily symptom, that pain in your gut, those changes in your behavior. Listen to those. I know they're consuming, but those are me, how I have designed you to hear me. Tune into wisdom. If you tune into wisdom, which is in the garden, which is facing these issues, tune into me through those signals. I will help you process through. And it will get worse, but that's okay, because in the mess we can repair and grow together. And you will rise with that story. Always remember, you can't change what's happened, but you can change what's in you. You see, your brain changes in response to what you're going through, but that does not have to be your future. You've got to get in the garden to make the change. So it may land up as a toxic tree inside of you. And you may recall from the last 2 times I was here, I showed you that toxic thoughts are real structural protein things. And these proteins are all distorted, and things, all the proteins are messed up, and the glial cells, which are support cells in the brain, go to this area and they try and fix it. And if we don't fix this, it messes up everything in the brain and the body. And our vulnerability to illness and disease increases over time. And our immune system function drops. And you do not want that, especially in a pandemic. You don't want that at any time. And that's what we spoke about a little bit last time, about the fear factor. We've got to be very careful of fear. So we need to get in the garden in a safe space. And we need to let this consume us for a moment, because that is okay to be okay with this. Be okay with your mess, because Jesus says to you, God made you in His image. God made you in His image. You are made in the image of God. Godness. I don't even like to say His, because God is so much bigger than that. God is Godness. God made us in God's image. You are wisdom. Because God is wisdom. At the core of you, you are wisdom. As a neuroscientist, we've seen in the neurobiology, in other words, in the brain and the body, that there's nothing in you that isn't designed for wisdom. So therefore, anything that threatens wisdom, aka this little black stone in this cup, whatever that represents in your life, threatens your survival. So God knew, because when God gave us the ability to think, feel, and choose, I lay before you life and death, blessing and cursing, choose life. And we don't always do that. God knew that. So God accommodated that in our design. So as we mess up, the only way to make our design work for us, our mind, brain, and body to work for us, is to be okay with the mess. Because as soon as you're okay with the mess and you embrace it, you will find the message in the mess. And you will then step into the arms of wisdom, and you will activate your wisdom, and you'll start your journey through the garden. And you will scream out to God, and that's fine. And as you move through the garden, something very miraculous happens. Space starts being created. It's going to make a clunking noise there. Look, it's the same issue, but there is space being created around the issue. As we step into the wisdom of God, as we gather awareness of our issues, as we embrace them and bring them into our fold, as we look at the warning signals of our emotions and our behaviors and our bodily symptoms and our perspective, as we take them to the table and we scream out to God, so space is being created. And when we have space, we have perspective. And when we have perspective, we get wisdom. And when we have wisdom, we start having peace in the midst of chaos. We start realizing it's okay to be a bit depressed, and it's okay. I don't have to walk around pretending that God is a genie and that I'm just going to slap on these pass the buck prayers, as I also call them. Oh, I'll pray for you, and then, like it's just I said the prayer, now God do the work. You do the work. Jesus did the work in the garden. You've got to create the space. And Michelle held my hand, and I held hers, and Mac held mine, and I held Mac's, and you hold each other's hands, and Pastor Trish and Pastor Joel hold each other's hands, and you go through the garden, and then you get to the point of resurrection. Michelle, I need you to hold that so that I can do this. Thank you.
No, I can hold the mic for you.
I'll be good. I'll be good. Thank you. So now you get to the point where you are on the cross and you are rising. Look at the space you have created. That issue has been reconstructed as you get onto the cross. You have space around it, the same issue. When people lose a loved one, people often say, time heals. That's like the worst thing we can say. Time does not heal. That grief never goes away. But what happens is you get more space around the grief. So you learn how to manage it. So your story will never go away, but you will learn how to manage it. You will learn how to change the way it is inside of you so it changes how it plays out in the future. And when you do that, you actually change the physical structure in your brain. You are in a Genesis moment. You have creative power. You have the mind of Christ. You have the ability in the garden to take this toxic tree and uproot it, and no energy is ever lost in the brain and the body, and you can convert it and reconceptualize it into this. So Michelle, if you don't mind holding up this for me. And this is this, where this has converted from there by creating the space, and we've changed what it looks like inside of the brain. And you have changed every cell of your body, because now you have reconstructed every cell of your body through the change and the work you did in the garden. So that's the foundation, and now we're going to dive in together. So now...
Wow. Yes.
You can put that up if you
I don't
want.
even know why I'm up here. Even yesterday.
Because you have an amazing story. Michelle, you had a point where you were like this. Tell us about this and how the space was created.
Oh, wow. Yes. So, again, great morning to everybody here. I would say my journey with depression, I got a formal diagnosis in 2012, 2013. But when we traced it back, it was traced back all the way to around the 7th grade, 12 years old. So my work did make me depressed. Destiny's Child did make me depressed. So before y'all was like, oh my God, Hollywood makes, no. No, this was followed me into my career, 7th grade. Let's fast forward to 2018, where it was a really, really, really interesting moment. When you talk about it gets worse before it gets better, pain precedes growth. So it's going to hurt. Can you imagine if a rose garden actually had nerves and could feel when it's being pruned? And the pain that it would cause when you're being pruned and cut, but something beautiful comes after pain, if you're able to do the work. I came down here to Atlanta, Georgia in 2018 after such a public year of great things, and then, some sad things, engagement, and then that failed. I had 2 breakdowns. 2018 of July, I found myself checking into a treatment facility for depression. At the end of 2018, I kind of had a worse situation that happened. And then I came here to Atlanta. My cousin Brittany Phillips, that's in the house today, she's also a therapist. She saw what was going on and brought me here, and I've been here ever since. Like I said yesterday, Brittany Phillips and Dr. Caroline Leaf are on my Mount Rushmore of helping me to transform. Fast forward to 2019-ish or something, I did the 21-day brain detox with Dr. Caroline Leaf. We went live every day on my Instagram because I wanted people to see what it was like to sit face-to-face with a practitioner so that you'd know that you can actually process and unpack trauma. It's okay to unpack pain. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody that's a different hue, but I didn't know Black people went to therapy. I just thought we go to church, we pray about it, and that's it. And so what I noticed is, or you were told that you're not praying enough, you ain't in your word enough. Well, if you stopped dating Ray Ray, you wouldn't be in this type of predicament. Now, I do agree, sometimes Ray Ray and Nisha and all them can contribute to some of the pain. So I'm with you, Mother Jenkins, when you said if you get rid of Ray Ray, you'll be happy. I do agree. No, I'm just playing. But some of the work that had to happen, the therapy, the working out. And I just recall moments where I just would be in the bed for weeks. Be in the bed for weeks, not talking to anybody. But I'm so thankful, hopeless, not wanting to live. How could you be so successful and be in such a sad state? You know, and so we discovered some unmet needs, some things of the heart, a stony heart, that can lead to some depression. When you don't get to talk about your problems. Sometimes in your household, you better not air out the dirty laundry because we want to appear that we're perfect and that we're okay. But mama and daddy are fighting like cats and dogs. And so that child has anxiety because they don't know, is this going to be the fight that lands you in jail? Is this going to be the fight where somebody ends up dead? The children are in a state of anxiety. They're being bullied. They don't know how to articulate they're being bullied. They're being abused in all types of ways, but we've swept it under the rug. Now, we vacuum on top of the rug, but have you ever lifted up a rug? Old nickels, salt and pepper packets, how did it get there? How did it get there? How did it get there? And so that's what Dr. Leaf helps us to unpack. How did it get there? And how we can release it. And I'm so grateful that you say we are not what happened to us, but we are responsible for everything in us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. And that's just a brief part of her story. And she just released a beautiful book called Checking In that is just beautiful. And there are some on, I think most of them are sold out, but we're going to make sure that if you want to get them, there's a special on Mac can tell you about that. Go to the table to end. But she has an incredible story. And the reason I wanted Michelle to share her story is because Michelle got in the garden. And it was years in and out the garden.
It was years in and out the garden. Like I said, 2012, 2013, I believe that's when I started going to therapy, but I would go to vent. Brittany, you're a therapist. We come and vent. You listen to us. And some therapists have various techniques where they'll give you instructions, and some do listen, but some will say, okay, I need you to go do this homework. But I wouldn't do it. I would just go because I needed to talk, and that's okay. But it wasn't until when I got here, I really found somebody that just helped. We did my genealogram, and so we realized that even how my parents were raised affects their parenting. And the most healing thing that my mother could have ever said to me was, baby, we were just doing the best we knew how. So this is not to shade parents or to talk down on my parents, but now Sundays like this, it can't be an excuse now, because we're given the tools. Are we gonna get angry and you gonna take it out on little Carter? See, now we have names like Carter. We went from Ray Ray to Carter. We went from Tanitra to Ashland. Tanitra's my first name, Michelle's my middle name. So my heart goes out to parents where you and your husband or you and your wife are going through something, and then it trickled down into your kids, and then your kids now resolve conflict the way they saw you resolve conflict, or they don't know how to resolve conflict because they didn't see y'all resolve conflict. There was a don't talk household. Don't talk about your problem. We just gonna eat dinner like nothing happened. So we're undoing all of those behaviors.
Exactly. We have to unpack, we have to be open, we have to level the playing field. Mental health, I don't even talk about mental illness because it's not a disease. You don't need a disease to validate the pain of something that you've gone through in childhood. And as a parent, I'm a parent of 4, and there's so many things that I have done unintentionally that have hurt my kids, and I've had to face that reality. So we have leveled the playing field in our home. We encourage our kids to talk it out. Only 3% of leaders are talking about mental health. Only 4% of churches are talking about mental health. So hats off to this church for doing this. Meanwhile, if you're alive, which you are, and if you're a human, which you are battling with your mental health. Every moment of every day, you are battling. If you think of trauma on a scale of 1 to 10, not all of us are having 10s every day, the real bad stuff, but we have 10s in our life. We have 8s in our life. You know what I mean by the numbers? 1 would be something that's not so complex, like a bad comment on social media. It's the example I used yesterday. And 10 would be a maybe terrible childhood where you see your parents potentially maybe even killing each other, or the danger's always there. That's extreme. And so, as Michelle said, for the parents in the house, I'm a parent. I mean, there's such guilt that I've gone through, and I've taken that guilt in the garden, and I've processed through realizing that I did the best I could in that moment. But what I can do is own the impact on my kids and allow them to be able to express themselves and get it out there. And it makes for difficult parenting because you're going to deal with, but it's the best kind of parenting. It's the best kind of, it makes for a difficult life because everyone's talking. But the difference is what Michelle said, she vented, but she didn't move forward. Jesus says vent, but also move. Progress. There's time involved. There's a race to run. And that's what I found from my research is that your mind, brain, body, God has designed in such a way that to rewire your neural networks, it takes cycles of 63 days. And I've had some patients who've taken multiple cycles up to 2 years, 3 years, because as they get down and as they dig deep, I mean, Michelle was at sort of 2, 3 from the age of 12. It was a long journey and you didn't know about all the science of it, but you were going through a very long journey. These are not quick journeys, and they're not going to stop because every childhood issue, every adolescent, every adulthood, it's not just children, a childhood that causes problems, it's your entire life that you're going to, every day you're going to experience adversity. And that is why God says so clearly, bring all thoughts into captivity. You make about 8,000 to 10,000 thoughts a day. Those are informed by 20,000 plus. Wow. So you need to bring at least 30,000 thoughts a day to God. Are you doing that? That's prayer. That's the getting in the garden. We need to live in the, and I'm not saying live, the garden is trauma work, but we need to be every moment carrying this process over. So if you're in a conversation, how is your body language? What are you saying? What photons are you generating? If I'm coming from a toxic place and I'm sitting there with a smile, but I've got toxic feelings towards that person, that's what that person's feeling under your smile. And there's cognitive dissonance. Because the truth does come out. It comes out somewhere. You might be saying one thing, but the truth is coming out through your photons. That's how God has designed us. And that's damaging to your brain and to that person. So the other person's brain. So you've got to bring all thoughts into captivity. And what we want to do now is we want to talk about leading from the heart. Michelle and I had an amazing discussion in the car yesterday. We drove for hours all over the place. We had such a beautiful afternoon of sharing. And Atlanta traffic is very interesting. Thank goodness I had my friend to be with me to talk me through this. I can't sit down very long.
You better have your lap scarf.
I tell you, there you go. I'm really super elegant here. So
somebody's church mother must have got a hold to you one day and said, "Mother, cover
I got a little mommy over there." Oh gosh. I never wear dresses, literally. It is like I own one dress.
Amazing.
So today I put a dress on, but thank goodness Diane was looking after me. See?
On, it's not a stitched one, it's just a good old regular one.
There you go.
That's
Does
all
its
right.
job.
It matches what you have on. We have so much fun together. We really, really do. Now, what am I talking about?
Leading from the heart. We had a whole conversation about leading from the heart. So we want to go into that now to try and give you some sort of practical, where do we go from here? Kind of thing. And there's lots to say. I can, as you all know, if you don't know, I can talk for 100 hours without stopping. But let's kind of condense it into 20 minutes.
Leading from the heart does not just have to apply to actual leaders. Meaning you don't have to have the title of leader to lead from the heart. Now, when it comes to leaders, sometimes you are taught not to lead from the heart. Don't get it. Observe, don't absorb. Meaning, when a person tells you about their problems, don't take it all in, and before you know it, you should have released them and terminated them, but because you've absorbed their problem, you feel sorry for them, and you let them continue to be toxic in your environment for years because you decided to absorb. So there's a difference, right? You have to use wisdom, discernment, of course. So leading from the heart. But what does leading from the heart just look like without titles? All of us in here can lead from the heart, leading our lives with how we treat people, with the decisions that we make. And sometimes with Dr. Lee, I just want to talk about nail polish. But sometimes she'll get into the science of the polish, and before you know it, what you chose with the nail polish had to do with your mind. And so I'm discovering the heart is really your mind.
The mind. So we talk about the heart because it just seems so warm, and little hearts and all that kind of stuff. So let me move this up. Oh, there goes my little, I'll stand.
We got it.
Okay. So there is a little mini brain in the heart of 40,000 plus neurons. There is a connection to the front of the brain. The front of the brain becomes very active in response to you getting deeply insightful and making decisions and that kind of stuff, which is where wisdom is wisdom is looking at all the situation and in context and making the best decisions based on all the information. And what we see is that our brain and body are responding to how the mind, which is the spirit and the soul, is basically receiving the environment, whatever's going on in the environment. So when we talk about leading from the heart, it's not that the heart's now making you do something. If you're dead, your heart does nothing. When you're alive, your heart's pumping blood, it's releasing hormones, it's basically getting oxygen and blood to your brain, etc., etc. And it also is involved when we, with our mind, make a good decision, step into wisdom, it releases certain hormones that make us feel a sense of peace through our body. So the beautiful way that God's created us is that we get these responses in our brain and our body because our spirit and our soul uses the brain and the body so that you can show up as a whole human. Okay, so if you're dead, none of that is happening. When you die, actually, you weigh a little bit less because your spirit and your soul actually move out of you. Okay, which is really interesting. Okay, it's a small little portion, but your mind is driving everything. So your brain and body are driven and powered by your mind. Like you power your computer, you plug it in, you charge it, you charge your cell phone. Our mind is what's charging our body. And our mind is made of wisdom and is being charged by the Spirit of God. So when we talk about leading from the heart, what we're really doing is talking about tuning into the wisdom that is at our core being, the wisdom of our biology, brain and body, the wisdom of our mind, which we often talk about as being the optimism bias in science. And that wiseness in us really only operates properly when we consciously and deliberately tune into God.
How's it cultivated? Does everybody have wisdom?
Everybody has wisdom because everybody is made in the image of God. But we don't activate our wisdom. That's the issue, Michelle. So leading from our heart is activating that wisdom. How can I constantly activate that wisdom? I've got to bring every thought into captivity. That means that every moment that I'm awake, talking to you, talking to my kids, talking to Mac, doing what I'm doing my research, I need to be monitoring, self-regulating. How am I thinking, feeling, and choosing? What thoughts are going through my head? What narrative am I spinning around? What are those intrusive thoughts? Are these aligning with God? Because each one of those is revelatory. It's telling you how you're looking at something. And if it's toxic that's popping up, I need to question this toxicity. How established is this? Is this a pattern in my life? Why is it a pattern in my life? I got to get in the garden. Okay, so I'm not saying that all day long you get in the garden because you wouldn't be functional. What I'm saying is it's a lifestyle that you train yourself into. And I've shown with my research that you can become 81% proficient at this within a 9-week period. And then that proficiency can increase. So I'm talking about leading a life of prayer. And prayer isn't prayer talking to God? Okay, so I'm talking about every 10 seconds talking to God. I'm talking about how am I conducting myself right now? How am I conducting myself what's the impact on you? In talking to my husband when we drive to the airport or something like that. What am I saying? How am I saying it? Responding on an email. What am I saying? Do you see what I'm saying? That is what we want to capture and bring into captivity.
What about the household of just saying whatever? Like I couldn't fight a man, but my words could.
Okay,
and it's kind of like that's from the heart, but it's a pattern too of maybe what you saw growing up. But some of us, we just say thoughts, we just say things.
So here, let's bring this. So these get established. So here is the data.
I don't do that now, guys, by the way.
No. We're perfect now, aren't we?
Not perfect, but I don't
I'm
do
just
that
joking.
anymore. Yeah.
It's okay not to be perfect because
Somebody
God designed
out
you
there,
to be
as they
amazing.
say, someone in here.
Yeah, someone in here. So this is the thought tree. This is the established, this produces the patterns in your life. This thought tree is made of memories. The memories are the data. Data are the facts and the emotions. Okay? And there's this part over here is the interpretation, how you uniquely have interpreted the situation. That's the processing. This is the root, the origin, the source. So as a child, if you constantly see a certain pattern, you then process in a way, you interpret in a way, and this manifests as, I'm only going to survive if a male says X or a person says X. In other words, when you are triggered, this is what is activated. It's a coping strategy. It's a trauma response, but it's not sustainable. So because this interpretation is distorted because of the distortion of the source. So when we get in the garden, we want to look at those. How do we find those? Leading from the heart is communicating with God so that you look at the patterns of your life, which will then, and then you tune into the detail of the patterns in order to deconstruct and reconstruct. That's what I'm talking about. So these are tremendous evidence in your life. Become a thought detective. Become Poirot or whoever, you know who Poirot is, you know, the detective? No one, Poirot. The detective. Okay, Sherlock Holmes. Okay, Sherlock Holmes. You are your own Sherlock Holmes. You're a thought detective, Michelle. So what we do is we tune into God and we say, God, I know that I am now very snappy. There seems to be a pattern. Why am I doing this? I don't feel bad about myself. I don't go into condemnation and guilt because those emotions are going to drown me back. I'm going to grab the guilt. I'm going to grab the condemnation. I'm going to say, yeah, those are wrong. That snapping and irritability is wrong, but I'm going to grab that and I'm going to see it as a signal. I'm going to embrace it, get in the garden and say, okay, God, I need to walk a journey. Why am I doing this? Because God tells me that I'm amazing. God tells you that you're amazing. You're wired for love. So that irritability is not you. It is because of. And if it's a regular pattern, there's an established reason. So if you want to change that behavior in your life, you're not going to pray it away with just a scripture. That's the Band-Aid. You're going to pray it away by getting in the garden and doing the work of finding the because of. See? And as you do the deliberate daily, and I recommend it from my research and clinical application in 38 years, I've got a little bit of experience under my belt. You should be working on the big patterns at least daily, at least 7 to 45 minutes a day. I do it when I'm getting ready. Every day of my life, I am detoxing something in cycles of 63 days. Those are the big patterns. Then there's the little things, like you said. Suddenly we'll get, someone will say something and we get irritated, and there's no major pattern there. It's just that you made a mess. So own the mess and say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap at you. I just kind of got too much on my plate at the moment, and that's why I did it. So there's the same thing. That's the same concept. I quickly get in the garden. I own the fact that I have reacted like that. I don't feel good. The person doesn't feel good. So I gather awareness. I reflect on it. Then you go into a process of sort of, how can I reconstruct this? And then your action is, I'm sorry. Do you see what I'm saying? So what I've worked out over the years is that we can lead from the heart in a very systematic way. We can get into wisdom. And yesterday I used the analogy of the forest. Remember the trees. So imagine a huge, big, beautiful forest in the middle, and jump in whenever you want to, Michelle, just to elaborate on this. There's a green forest going through the middle, and it's perfect. And that forest represents your wisdom. You're made in God's image, your wisdom, everything you need. But you have to live in that forest. Your wise mind has to be very activated in order to manage the messy mind. Because God gave you a messy mind because He gave you free will. God gave us free will. So free will is messy. You've got to make mistakes. You have the ability to respond. Responsibility. You have the ability to react. Okay? Reactability. Okay? So, in other words, that is a beautiful gift. So God has accommodated in your mental, physical realm that you can make a mess, but you're not designed to stay in the mess. You're not designed to cover it with a Band-Aid. You're not designed to just throw a scripture on it. You're designed to own it, manage it, and move forward. That's leading from the heart. So then I jump in the middle of the forest into this beautiful green trees that's perfect. On the outside are all the other green trees, the light colors. Those of you that here yesterday, I told you this analogy, but it's a very powerful, easy one to apply in your life. And all those green trees are all your experiences. Every experience becomes a tree in your brain. Okay, it becomes a gravitational field in your mind. Don't worry if you don't understand it. And it becomes a gene change in your body. If you don't deal with it, if you don't deal with the toxicity, it passes through the generations, through the sperm and the ova. That's called epigenetics. So Michelle spoke about how we continue the patterns of our parents. We do. We can go up to, you can track back to generations back, but you don't have to, because whatever comes through that's toxic, that you haven't finished, that you've sent through your kids, or that has come through from previous generations, you can get in the garden, lead with the heart, get into your wise mind, and you can do the work of deconstructing. You don't have to say, oh, well, my parents did this, so therefore I'm going to do this. You can change that.
You can change it, and you can be the first that says, this stops here.
Exactly.
This stops here. Certain responses stop here. Certain reactions. It stops. It can stop with you. There are certain things that has and will continue to stop with me. We can Google so many things that have nothing to do with how we're going to lead ourselves and lead our lives, how we're going to decide to respond, because what we saw growing up was so strong, and you think it's normal. We have normalized dysfunction. Why have we normalized it? Because we survived it. We've gone on to be successful, have great families, we're building wealth and legacy, but that doesn't mean what we had come through, it was not dysfunction. But we forget about it because we survived it and we came through it. But let's call it what it is. What does Iyanla say? Call a thing a thing. Okay, dysfunction is definitely dysfunction. And it can stop. It can stop with you. We're not going to be perfect. Denzel Washington said it's about progress, not perfection. I don't know where he got it from a therapist, but that's something that I try to live by. Okay, progress, not perfection, but to try to make sure how I'm responding is not because my auntie did it or my mother did it or my dad did it, because some of that stuff has to stop.
And it does stop, and I'm so glad you explained it like that, because what has happened is that experience that you're nurturing, whatever environment you're in, you are impacted by your environment, whether you like it or not, you are impacted by and when I say impacted, you've built your environment into your brain as these. So those sit there, and this is what we operate from. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So whatever you think about the most grows. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You guys know the scriptures. Here's the science, okay? So in other words, what comes through the generation comes through dormant. So this is kind of sealed up in a box, but it's there and it's activated. What pulls the box down and releases this is by you thinking that, oh, well, my mother did it, my grandfather did it, it's in our family, this is how that thinking is mind energy that goes there, melts down the box, and boom, this manifests in your life. But that, as Michelle said, doesn't have to be the case, because this manifests in your patterns, which is what you say and what you do, how you communicate. And it manifests in everything, your relationships, etc., etc. So you need to look at those, bring them into captivity, and to break them down, get in the garden and do the deconstruction down to the root system. So that means that you don't have to, when Michelle talks about you can change it, it stops here, you don't have to live into this. You maybe never knew this. You can recognize it. By recognizing it, you weaken it and you start destroying it. And then by working on it and saying, no, I'm not going to have that pattern. I'm going to spend the 63-day cycle to wire this out and wire in the new way that the next generations will now move towards. And that's what you can do. That's the mind of Christ.
And I just want to encourage every person sitting in these seats. Raise your hand, be honest. If you're feeling like, man, I got a lot of work to do.
All of us, let's all be honest.
Hearing and seeing all this makes you feel, woo, I got a lot of work to do. When we have those thoughts, it will even keep you from not even wanting to do anything, because you feel like, there's no way I'm going to be a better woman, a man. There's no way I'm going to do better. But start with one thought. And before you know it, it will probably 2 thoughts. You'll detoxify 2 bad thoughts, 3 bad thoughts, or certain behaviors of how you respond. Just start today, right now, this minute. Just start with 1. And allow yourself to keep going, but don't feel like you got to try to do it all, do 1,000 things.
It's the rest of your life. Renewing, ing, is an ongoing thing. So you have permission from your Creator to spend your life doing this, which is so beautiful. So you become really proficient at prayer in doing this. So here is now like a little demonstration, and I would fall on the floor if I didn't have a dress, but I'm not going to fall on the floor. So the first thing, okay, so you're going to demonstrate for me, okay? So no falling. We'll just step in. So here is the garden. Here is that beautiful green part of you. We are drawn to anything that is toxic, not because we are evil, because we're not. We're made in God's image. We're drawn because we need to restore the balance. We need to restore. It's threatening our survival. It's threatening the wired for love mode. So when people watch, terrible things on movies, or we get caught up with, how could that happen? Or we're so drawn to, it's not because we are drawn to evil, it's because we're drawn to evil because we want to restore the balance. The mind of Christ, the wisdom, the leading from the heart says, that's wrong, let's fix. But we can get consumed and stuck. If you don't know how to manage yourself in those situations, you get caught up in the social media. We know the Facebook problem that's happened this week, where girls' body images and anorexia and everything's increased because of Instagram, because of the consumption of that kind of, so whatever you think about the most, your brain becomes involved with, and you merge with that environment. So you can control that. We have to teach our kids from young. We have to teach ourselves that, hey, I recognize that is not the right thing. We've got to have body positivity. We've got to recognize whatever the issue is. And I'm just using that because it's been all over the news this week, and it's something that I've seen over the years in my work as well, this problem. Okay, so we want to have a look at that and say, okay, well, that is an imbalance. I'm going to protect myself, so I have to step away, and I have to get in the garden, and I have to collapse in front of God and say, this is how all of that is affecting me. Whatever it is, I just gave one example. I have to pour it all out, because if you don't get it out, you get it in. But notice I'm stepping into the garden. It's safe there. That is where your comfort, your kindness, the love, kindness changes how your physiology works. And I've done a whole podcast and teaching on this, but the short version is that when you are kind to yourself, when you are operating in love, when you get in the garden, you're kind to yourself, you change your neurophysiology and you increase your resilience. So your physical brain and body will now get stronger. And then, so you can now cry and scream and go through the pain, but you're not going to let your body and brain won't let you down. When they're feeling bad, it's really hard. So we've got to, every time something hits us, we've got to immerse ourselves in the garden, and we've got to then go through the process of deconstruction and reconstructing, embracing, processing, and reconceptualizing. And the exact how-to, I don't have time to go into detail here, but I've got an app called the Neuropsych app. I've got books. Michelle's book has got the app, her story in it, and they're available at the back. I don't know if you want to say something else, Michelle.
I'm excited. Checking in is the title of my book. She's got it.
Checking into the garden.
Checking into the garden. And there's 3 pillars of checking in. Checking in with yourself, checking in with others, and checking in with God. So as you were talking about the garden, that's those were the 3 pillars.
God.
And I wasn't doing those things consistently, so now it's checking in. Be real, get real about whatever the issue is, and get into the garden and check in.
So you check in with yourself as you get in. As you progress forward, you've got the cross ahead of you, and you know what's going to happen. You've got the end of the story. You don't have the details. So that's the checking in with God, and then the people supporting you, the disciples, okay? So you've got to have that support, checking in with others. And so when we do that, we start managing to lead from the heart. So we start then getting in the garden, and from the green part, the beautiful middle part of your forest, your wisdom, you start stepping into that and looking at the issues of your life from that angle, instead of going over this side and staring through this and thinking, I am terrible, I am useless, I am a waste of time, I am guilty, I'm condemnation. This is the wrong side of the garden. This is not who you are. I said the last time. This is how you're showing up because of the root system. You have to step in here And you have to look at it like that. Immersed in the arms of love and kindness. And then God helps you let your mind and brain work for you and not against you. Remember, you cannot change what's happened to you, but you can change what's in you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Praise God. Were you all blessed by Dr. Leaf and Carol? Michelle Williams? Were you all blessed by both of them? Praise God. Just great information. Awesome, awesome information. If you're not standing to your feet, I would ask that you do so right now. And let's all remind ourselves that we are a triune being, right? You are a spirit that possesses a soul, which is what she was talking about today, your mind, your will, and your emotions. And you, your spirit, lives in a physical body. What is the most important part of that triune nature? It's your spirit, right? And so that's what I want to give someone an opportunity today, is to address the most important part of who you are. It starts there. And so if you're in this room today and you don't have a personal relationship with God through Jesus Christ, right? If you're not one with him in spirit, I want to give you an opportunity to do that today, to allow his spirit to come and live on the inside of yours. That's where the wisdom begins. And so if you're not born again, you're not saved today, I would love to pray for you online or in the room. Secondarily, you might say, Pastor, I am saved, but I got away from God. I went back out into the world. I just turned my back. I know I'm doing and living things today that God's not pleased with. Well, remember, he might not be pleased with it, but he still loves you. And he's asking you today to love yourself by returning back to him. So if you want to rededicate your life today, if you want to come back to Christ, I want to pray with and for you. And then finally, if you don't have a church home, I think church is evolving. We certainly thank God for where we came from, but I see church evolving today. In the past, we would have laid hands, given someone in scripture, and we would have left them there. Today, what you can see is God is raising up gifts alongside churches and pastors so that your whole person can be ministered to. We're moving in a direction where we're going to partner with people like her and Dr. Avery Jackson to really build a mental health portion to what Linked Up Church does. And we're going to put resources behind that and let them come in and train the trainer so that people can get more than just prayer and a scripture and hands laid on them. I mean, that's the starting point, but as you just heard today, there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And so if you believe that this is where God has led you to join, you want to become a part of Linked Up Church today, my wife and I, the staff, will be so happy to receive you. Right? And so while every head is bowed, every eye is closed in prayer, no one moving, no one talking, unless you've been assigned to do so. If you're in this room today or you're watching online and you want to give your life to God, you want to become born again, you want to be a Christian today, again, I want to pray for you. If you're in this room today or watching online, you want to come back to Christ. You're saved, you just got away from him. You're saying, I want to come back today. Or thirdly, if you don't have a church home, every sheep needs a shepherd. And you believe God has confirmed in your spirit that this is where he wants you planted, we'll be happy to receive you. So remember, I want to pray for you, but I'll only know that you desire those prayers by the lifting up of your hand. So if you want to get saved, come back to Christ, or join Linked Up Church, would you shoot your hand up in the air right now? Just lift it up, keep it up as high as you possibly can. Is there anyone like that today? Praise God. I see that hand right there. Anyone else today? You say, Pastor, I want to give my life to God. I want to become a Christian. I want to get saved. Pastor, I want to come back to him. I believe this is where God wants me or me and my family to join. If you didn't raise your hand that first time, but in your heart you believed you should have, would you just go ahead and lift it up right now, and we will include you in on this prayer. Anyone else like that? Lift it up, keep it up. All right, praise God. God bless you, young man. All right, God bless you in the riser. If you raised your hand or you didn't raise your hand, but in your heart you believed you should have, would you do me one more favor? Just gather up all of your personal belongings, step into the nearest aisleway, come meet me right down here at the front. Linked Up Church, give them a big round of applause as they come. Come on, Linked Up Church, we can do better than that. Praise God, they're still coming from the risers. Come on, let's celebrate them until they make it all the way down here to the front. Great decisions that people are making today. Excellent decisions. Everything starts with God. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. I didn't forget about you online. If you want to give your life to, if you want to have a personal relationship with God through his son, Jesus Christ, or you want to rededicate your life, I'm getting ready to take care of both of those in this prayer. So as I'm leading the room in this prayer, I want you to pray right along with it. If you desire to join Linked Up Church, just get connected to the number that you see on your screen, and someone will follow up with you accordingly. But if you're giving your life to God or you're coming back to him, right here in the front, would you all lift one hand towards heaven, because that's where your help ultimately comes from. And I want you to repeat this prayer after me. Say, Dear Heavenly Father, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I believe that he died, rose from the grave, and he is alive right now. Lord Jesus, come into my heart and save me now. As a result of what I've confessed with my mouth and what I believe in my heart, I am right now born again, and all my sins are forgiven in Jesus' name. Amen. Linked Up Church, give them another big round of applause. Congratulations to you online as well. All right. If you all would, just look right to your left. You see that young man with that Bible lifted up in the air? Go ahead and follow him. He's going to show you more clearly what you came down to receive today. Follow him right now. Linked Up Church, go ahead and give them another big round of applause.
Thank you so much for watching our online service. We certainly don't take that for granted. And if you enjoyed today's message and you want to get connected with us, we encourage you to become a part of our online community.
That's right, and you can do that by subscribing to our YouTube channel, sharing this video with a friend, and following us on social media. Don't forget to meet us right here on this channel every Sunday for our services.
If you desire to help us reach more people just like yourself and advance the kingdom of God, then click the Give button now. This will allow us to connect more people to God, their families, their purpose, and their communities.
Thank you again for watching our service on today, and
we'll see you next week.